The distress beacon died at 0300 hours, 17 minutes before anyone noticed. Lieutenant Commander Maya Cross stood in the Situation Room aboard the Earth Alliance vessel Relentless, staring at a tactical display that showed nothing but empty space where Recon Platoon 7 should have been. 32 soldiers. Gone. The silence from Outpost Kestrel on the moon of Targus Prime stretched like a wound across every screen in front of her. "Run it again," Maya said, her voice cutting through the tension. Sergeant Nina Voss hunched over her console with the kind of focus that came from too many sleepless rotations, tapped through the replay for the 5th time. Her fingers moved across holographic controls with mechanical precision. Same result, Commander. Their last transmission was a routine check-in at 0243. Standard patrol sweep. Nothing unusual in the area. Then radio silence. Maya's jaw tightened. She had trained with some of those soldiers. Shared meals. Listened to their stories about home. 32 people did not simply vanish from a fortified outpost without leaving a trace. Environmental anomaly? She asked, though she already knew the answer. Negative. Weather patterns normal. No seismic activity. No solar flares. No radiation spikes. It's like they powered down every system simultaneously and walked into the dark. Captain Jace Ryland entered the room, his boots heavy against the deck plating. The man carried the weight of 2 decades in deep space operations on his shoulders, and it showed in the lines around his eyes. He had seen things that broke lesser soldiers, yet here he stood, solid as titanium. Any word from command? Maya asked without turning. Commander Hart is dispatching the nearest rapid response team, but they are 12 hours out. She wants us to investigate immediately. We are closest. Maya nodded once, her mind already calculating trajectories and tactical approaches. Prep a strike team. Full combat loadout. If someone took our people, I want to be ready to return the favor. Jace's expression darkened. You think this was hostile action? I think 32 trained soldiers do not disappear because they forgot to pay the power bill. Nina smirked despite the gravity of the situation. Want me to file that under official assessment or personal theory? File it under get your gear ready, Maya replied. We leave in 20 minutes. The dropship cut through Targus Prime's thin atmosphere like a blade through silk. Maya sat strapped into the troop bay, running pre-combat checks on her rifle while the rest of her 8-person team did the same. Jay sat across from her, his scarred hand steady as he calibrated his weapons targeting system. Private Leo Kane, young enough to still have enthusiasm in his eyes, kept glancing at the viewport as the moon's surface came into view. The kid had skills, sharp reflexes, and sharper instincts, but he had yet to see real combat. Maya hoped today would not be his baptism by fire. Approaching Outpost Kestrel, the pilot announced over comm visual confirmation of the facility. All external lights are dark. No heat signatures detected. Maya felt ice settle in her chest. Take us down. Combat formation on exit. Weapons hot. The dropship touched down in a cloud of gray dust 50 meters from the outpost's main entrance. The ramp dropped, and Maya's team moved out with practiced efficiency, spreading into defensive positions. The moon's gravity felt strange after days aboard ship. Slightly lighter, allowing for quicker movement but requiring adjusted aim. The outpost loomed ahead, a collection of prefabricated structures designed to withstand everything from meteor strikes to chemical attacks. Every window was dark, every door sealed. The place looked abandoned, as though it had been empty for months rather than hours. Thermal scan, Maya ordered. Nina swept her handheld sensor across the complex. No life signs. No active power sources. Emergency backup should have kicked in automatically if the main reactor failed, which means someone shut it down manually. Jay said, his voice grim. They approached the main airlock. Maya signaled for breach positions, and 2 of her soldiers placed magnetic charges on the access panel. The mechanism clicked, hissed, and the door slid open with a metallic groan that echoed across the barren landscape. Inside, emergency lighting cast everything in shades of crimson. The corridor stretched ahead, unmarked by blast damage or signs of struggle. Maya advanced with her rifle raised, her team flowing behind her like water through a pipe. The common area appeared untouched. Meals sat half-eaten on tables. A deck of cards lay scattered across a counter. A data pad displayed a message half-written, the cursor still blinking as if waiting for fingers that would never return. "This is wrong," Leo whispered. "Stay sharp," Maya replied. "Check every room. Look for anything out of place." They split into pairs, clearing the facility room by room. Maya and Jace took the command center. The space felt haunted, filled with the ghosts of recent activity. Screens still displayed tactical overlays. The duty roster remained pinned to the wall, names and assignments frozen in time. Maya accessed the main computer terminal. Log should tell us something. She pulled up the security footage, her stomach tightening as the recordings played. The timestamp showed 0243, exactly when the last transmission went out. Soldiers moved through their routines. Nothing appeared amiss. Then, at 0259, every camera fed to static simultaneously. 17 minutes, Jace muttered. Whatever happened took 17 minutes from last contact to complete shutdown. Or someone wanted us to think it took 17 minutes, Maya countered. Nina's voice crackled over the team channel. "Commander, you need to see this." North Storage Bay. Maya and Jace moved quickly through the corridors, their boots echoing in the oppressive silence. They found Nina standing in the center of a large cargo space, her face pale under the red emergency lights. The floor was scorched, not by fire or explosives, but by something else. The metal deck plating showed patterns of molecular disruption, as if reality itself had been twisted and burned away. Maya knelt beside one of the marks, running her gloved fingers across the warped surface. "Energy weapon?" Jay suggested. "Nothing we have in our arsenal leaves marks like this," Nina said. "This is something new, something alien." Maya stood, her mind racing through possibilities. The border sectors had been quiet for months. The Vakreen sovereignty, their nearest neighbors in this part of space, had maintained their treaty obligations without incident. The insectoid Raw collective rarely ventured this far from their core worlds. No known hostile species operated in this region. "Scan for residual energy signatures," she ordered. Nina worked her equipment, frowning at the readings. "There is something here, faint but detectable. The signature does not match any database entry." "Wait!" She adjusted her scanner, her expression shifting from confusion to alarm. "Commander, this energy pattern is still active. Whatever created these marks left behind some kind of residual field." "Meaning what?" "Meaning the attack might have occurred recently. Very recently. As in the last hour." Jace swore under his breath. They could still be here. Maya raised her fist, signaling the team to halt and take defensive positions. The silence pressing around them, broken only by the soft hum of their equipment and the rapid beating of her own heart. Then she heard it, a scraping sound, metal against metal, coming from somewhere below them. "Sub-level," she whispered into the comm, weapons ready. "We go quiet." They found the access hatch concealed beneath a storage container. Maya pulled it open, revealing a ladder descending into darkness. She activated her helmet's tactical light and started down, the beam cutting through shadows that seemed to swallow the illumination. The sub-level had not appeared on any of the outpost's official schematics. The space stretched larger than it should have, filled with equipment Maya did not recognize. Cylindrical containers lined the walls, each one sealed and marked with symbols in a language she had never seen. "What is this place?" Leo asked, his voice tight with tension. Maya approached one of the containers. Through the transparent section, she could see something organic suspended in liquid. It looked biological, possibly tissue samples, but the structure was wrong for anything human. "This is a research facility," Nina said, examining the equipment. "Someone was studying something down here, something they did not want anyone to know about." Jace moved to a computer terminal, activating the system. "Files are encrypted, but I can crack it given time." "Do it fast," Maya said. "I want to know what they were hiding." The terminal hummed to life, data streaming across the screen. Jace's fingers flew over the interface, bypassing security protocols with the expertise of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. Minutes crawled past like hours. Finally, the encryption broke. Files opened, revealing records and research notes. Maya leaned over Jace's shoulder, reading the text with growing horror. The Outpost had been front. Recon Platoon 7 had stumbled onto something they were never meant to discover. The research concerned a species called the Skarlix, a predatory race from beyond charted space. According to the logs, Human Command had been secretly negotiating with them, trading technology in exchange for intelligence on other alien species. But the Skarlix had grown impatient. They wanted more. They wanted human subjects for experimentation, to study what made Earth's soldiers so effective in combat. Command had refused. So the Skarlix had taken what they wanted by force. "This cannot be real," Leo said, reading over Maya's shoulder. "Command would never authorize something like this." Maya's hands clenched into fists. Someone authorized it. Someone knew about this facility and kept it off the books. "Look at this," Nina said, pointing to a timeline in the files. "The Skarlix made contact 3 months ago. There have been multiple meetings. The last one was scheduled for yesterday." Jace pulled up another file, his face hardening. There's a recording, audio log from the final negotiation. He played it. The voice that came through the speakers was human, male, calm and measured despite the content of his words. "We cannot provide live subjects. The political fallout would be catastrophic. Find another way to obtain your samples." A second voice responded, alien and sharp, like glass scraping against bone. "You misunderstand your position. We do not request. We take. Your soldiers will serve our purpose whether you consent or not. That is an act of war. War implies you could fight back. You are outmatched, outgunned, and out of time. We have already identified our target. Outpost Kestrel. 32 specimens. We will collect them tonight." The recording ended. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Maya's mind reeled. Someone in command had known this would happen. Someone had let it happen. 32 soldiers betrayed by the very organization they served. "We need to get this information back to the Relentless," she said, forcing her voice to remain steady. "Command needs to answer for this." "Assuming anyone in command can be trusted," Jace replied darkly. A sound stopped him cold. Footsteps, multiple sets, coming from the corridor above. Maya killed her light, signaling the others to do the same. They moved into defensive positions, weapons trained on the ladder access. The footsteps grew louder, accompanied by voices speaking in that same alien language from the recording. The Skarlix had returned. Through the hatch opening, Maya glimpsed movement. Figures descended the ladder with unnatural grace. They were tall, bipedal, covered in segmented armor that reflected light like oil on water. Their faces remained hidden behind helmets, but their movement spoke of predatory confidence. Maya counted 5 of them. Her team had 8 soldiers. The odds seemed manageable until she noticed what they carried. Weapons unlike anything in the human arsenal, sleek and humming with barely contained energy. The aliens spread out, searching the sublevel with purpose. One of them approached the containers, examining the contents with what might have been satisfaction. Another moved toward the computer terminal, where Jace had left the files open. Maya made her decision. She opened a private channel to her team. "On my mark, we take them." Suppressing fire. Aim for joints in the armor. 3, 2, 1, mark. The firefight erupted in a cacophony of gunfire and alien shrieks. Maya's first shots caught one of the Skarlix in the knee joint, sending it crashing to the floor. Jace took down another with a sustained burst to the chest plate. Leo, despite his inexperience, fought with surprising ferocity. But the aliens were fast, inhumanly fast. Their weapons discharged beams of coherent energy that melted through cover like it was paper. One of Maya's soldiers fell. His scream cut short as his chest dissolved into vapor. "Fall back!" Maya shouted, covering her team's retreat toward the ladder. Nina paused long enough to plant a thermal charge on the computer terminal, destroying the evidence. 5 seconds. They scrambled up the ladder as the charge detonated below, engulfing the sublevel in flames. The explosion shook the structure, and Maya felt the heat chase them up into the corridor. They emerged running, the surviving Skarlix pursuing with relentless determination. Maya's team laid down suppressing fire, buying precious seconds as they fought their way back toward the exit. The outpost corridors became a maze of death and desperation. 2 more of her soldiers fell before they reached the airlock. The remaining team members burst through into the moon's thin atmosphere, sprinting toward the dropship. "Get us airborne!" Maya screamed into her comm. The pilot needed no further encouragement. The engines roared to life, the ramp already rising as the last of them dove aboard. The dropship lifted off just as the Skarlix reached the landing zone, their energy weapons scoring the hull with near misses. Inside the troop bay, Maya took stock of her losses. 3 dead, 2 wounded, and the truth sitting like lead in her stomach. "Set course of the Relentless," she ordered. "And someone get me a secure channel to Commander Hart. We need to have a very serious conversation." Jace moved beside her, his face grim. "You realize what this means? If Command knew about the Skarlix, if they allowed this to happen, then we cannot trust anyone." "I know. So what do we do?" Maya stared out the viewport at the stars beyond, her mind already forming a plan. "We find our people, we bring them home, and we make the Skarlix pay for every single one of them." The dropship entered orbit, leaving the dead outpost behind. But as Maya reviewed the combat footage on her helmet recorder, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. One of the Skarlix she had shot in the knee joint had not fallen like the others. It had stumbled, caught itself, and then looked directly at her helmet camera. For just a moment, she had seen its face through the damaged visor. The face had been human, not human-like, not an approximation. Fully, unmistakably human, eyes wide with terror, mouth forming words she could not hear. And around its neck, barely visible beneath the alien armor, hung a set of Earth Alliance military tags. Maya froze the image, zooming in until there was no doubt. The tags bore a name, a rank, a service number. Private Marcus Chun, one of the missing soldiers from Recon Platoon 7. The Skarlix had not taken the platoon for study. They had converted them, transformed human soldiers into something else, something obedient, something alien. And if they had done it to one platoon, they could do it to others, to entire battalions, to armies. Maya looked up from the screen to find Jace watching her, his expression unreadable. He had seen it too. They both knew what this meant. The war had not even started yet, and humanity had already lost the first battle, not through defeat, but through corruption. The enemy had found a way to turn their own soldiers against them. "Commander," the pilot called out, "we are being hailed by the Relentless." Commander Hart wanted a full report immediately. Maya closed the image file, her mind racing. Could she trust Hart? Could she trust anyone? The Skarlix had infiltrated human command, or worse, had convinced human officers to cooperate in their experiments. Every word she spoke from here on could reach enemy ears. She opened the comm channel, keeping her voice neutral. "This is Lieutenant Commander Cross. We are returning with casualties and critical intelligence. Request immediate security lockdown upon docking." "Acknowledge," Hart's voice replied. "What did you find down there, Maya?" The question felt loaded, dangerous. Maya chose her words carefully. "Something that changes everything, ma'am. I will brief you in person. Cross out." She terminated the connection before Hart could press further. Beside her, Nina had gone pale, her fingers trembling as she clutched a rifle. "They turned them," Nina whispered. "They turned our people into weapons." "Not all of them," Maya said, though the words fell hollow. "Marcus Chun was wearing Alliance tags. That means he remembers who he was. That means there might be a way to reverse it. Or it means they left just enough of his humanity intact to make him suffer." Jace countered. Maya refused to accept that. She could not, because if there was no hope of saving the converted soldiers, then the only option left was to kill them, to execute people who had been victims before they became threats. The Relentless grew larger in the viewport as they approached. The massive Earth Alliance cruiser hung in orbit like a steel fortress, bristling with weapons and defensive systems. Normally, the sight brought comfort. Now, it felt like sailing into a trap. "Listen to me," Maya said, gathering her team close. We do not know who we can trust. Until we figure out how deep this goes, we watch our backs and we keep our mouths shut. Share nothing over unsecured channels. Trust no one outside this room. Understood. Nods all around. Even young Leo had lost his earlier enthusiasm, replaced by the hard awareness that came from seeing friends die. The dropship docked with mechanical thump. The airlock cycled, and Maya led her team into the hangar bay. A security detail waited for them, 6 armed soldiers in full tactical gear. At their head stood Commander Hart, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun, her expression unreadable. "Lieutenant Commander Cross," Hart said formally. "Welcome back. I trust you have answers." Maya met her superior's gaze, searching for any sign of deception or complicity. Hart had served for 30 years, risen through the ranks on merit and courage. She had been Maya's mentor, the woman who taught her everything about leadership and tactical command. But trust was a luxury Maya could no longer afford. "We found the outpost abandoned," Maya reported, sticking to facts. "Evidence suggests hostile action. Alien energy weapons. We encountered enemy forces and engaged. 3 casualties." Hart's expression did not change. "And the platoon? Gone. No survivors found at the site." A lie. Or was it? Marcus Chun had been alive, technically, but what he had become did not qualify as survival. Hart studied her for a long moment. "Debriefing in 1 hour. Get your people to medical and meet me in the secure conference room. That is all." She turned and walked away, the security detail following. Maya watched her go, every instinct screaming that something was wrong. "She knows," Nina said quietly. "Maybe," Maya replied. "Or maybe she is just as lost as we are." They made their way to the medical bay, where doctors treated the wounded and processed the dead. Maya stood over the body of Corporal James Torres, a man who had saved her life during a boarding action 2 years ago. His family would receive a flag and empty condolences. They would never know the truth about what had taken him. Maya promised him silently that she would make it right. Somehow, the hour passed too quickly. Maya found herself standing outside the secure conference room, her hand hovering over the access panel. Once she went through that door, there would be no going back. She would have to decide how much to reveal, who to accuse, what battles to fight. She pressed the panel. The door slid open. Commander Hart sat alone at the table, no guards, no witnesses. She gestured to the seat across from her. "Close the door, Maya. We need to talk." Maya complied, her hand resting near her sidearm. "About what, ma'am?" "About the fact that you are lying to me," Hart said bluntly, "and about why that might be the smartest decision you have ever made." Maya's hand froze inches from her weapon. Hart saw the movement and smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "Relax. If I wanted you dead, you would not have made it past the hangar bay. Sit down." Maya sat, every nerve on high alert. "You knew about the research facility." "No," Hart said firmly, "but I suspected something was wrong the moment Outpost Kestrel went dark. Too clean, too precise. The Skarlix are many things, but subtle is not one of them. This had planning behind it, coordination with someone on the inside." "Who?" Hart pulled up a holographic display, showing a network of connections between various Alliance officers. "That is what I've been trying to figure out. Someone high enough to authorize black site research. Someone with access to troop deployments and tactical schedules. Someone who could make an entire platoon disappear without triggering immediate investigation." Maya studied the web of names and positions. Admiral Garrett. He oversees the sector, among others. But Garrett is too obvious, too exposed. Whoever orchestrated this is playing a longer game. "Why are you telling me this? How do I know you are not part of it?" Hart leaned back, her eyes hard. "Because 30 years ago, I lost my entire squad to an alien ambush that command assured me was impossible. I spent a decade investigating, piecing together evidence that our own intelligence division had set us up as bait to test enemy response times. By the time I proved it, the officers responsible had retired with full honors." She paused, her voice dropping. "I will not let that happen again. Not on my watch." Maya believed her. or wanted to. Trust had to start somewhere. I have something you need to see, Maya said. She pulled up the frozen image of Marcus Chun, now alien and transformed. The Skarlix are not just studying human soldiers. They are converting them, rewriting their biology, turning them into hybrids. Hart stared at the image, her face draining of color. My God, if they can do this to an entire platoon, they can do it to anyone. Insert converted soldiers into our ranks. Create sleeper agents we cannot detect, which means we cannot trust anyone. Maya finished. The enemy could be wearing our uniform, carrying our weapons, sleeping in the bunk beside us. Then we operate in the dark. Hart decided. Small team, people we can verify. We find the platoon, we extract them, and we burn this conspiracy to the ground. With respect, ma'am, we are talking about going against our own command structure. That is treason. It is only treason if we are wrong. And we are not wrong. Hart stood, pacing the room. I have resources. Ships and crews loyal to me personally. People who owe me their lives or their careers. We can put together a strike force without alerting whoever is pulling the strings. Maya thought about her fallen soldiers. About Marcus Chen's terrified eyes. About 32 people who trusted their command to protect them. What do you need from me? Your team. The ones who went to Kestrel. They saw what you saw. They know the truth. Anyone else might talk, might question orders at the wrong moment. Your people are already invested. Some of them are kids. Leo has barely seen combat. Then they will learn. War does not wait for soldiers to be ready. It makes them ready or it kills them. Harsh words, but true. Maya nodded. Give me 24 hours to prepare them. We will need specialized equipment. Anti-conversion measures, if they exist. Intel on Skarlix ship movements. Already working on it, Hart said. She pulled up another display, this one showing deep space sensor data. We have been tracking anomalous energy signatures in the outer rim. Matches the residual patterns you found at Kestrel. 3 locations showing similar readings. One of them has to be where they took the platoon. Maya studied the coordinates. That is a lot of empty space to search. Which is why we are going to cheat. Hard input command, and a 4th location appeared on the map. 2 days ago, one of my patrol ships intercepted a Skarlix courier. Civilian vessel, or so they claimed. My captain seized their navigation logs before they could purge them. The data is encrypted, but if we can crack it, we will know exactly where their operations center is located. How long to decrypt? Nina Voss, your tech specialist. How good is she? Best I have ever worked with. Then give her the logs. Tell her she has 12 hours. Maya stood, and if we find them, if we locate the platoon, then we go in loud, and we bring our people home, Hart said grimly. Or we make sure the Skarlix regret ever learning what humanity is capable of. They parted ways with an understanding that felt fragile but necessary. Maya gathered her surviving team in a secured room deep in the ship, one of the old munition storage bays that had been converted into makeshift quarters. The walls were thick enough to block surveillance, and Nina had swept the space twice for listening devices. Jace, Nina, Leo, and 3 others whose names carried weight now. Corporal Diane West, whose steady nerves had saved them during the retreat. Private Marcus Young, no relation to the converted soldier, but bothered by the coincidence. Specialist Ryan Cole, a demolitions expert who understood that sometimes the best solution involved a lot of explosives. We have a mission, Maya began without preamble. Unsanctioned, dangerous, possibly suicidal. Anyone who wants out, leave now. No judgment. No one moved. Good. Because we're going to do something incredibly stupid. We're going to raid a Skarlix facility, extract our people, and expose whoever in command sold them out. She laid out the plan, such as it was. Nina would crack the navigation logs. They would identify the target location. Hart would provide a fast attack ship and enough firepower to level a small moon. They would hit hard, extract fast, and hope they survived long enough to deliver justice. What about the converted soldiers? Leo asked quietly. If we find Marcus Chun and the others, what do we do? The question hung heavy in the air. Maya had been avoiding it, knowing there were no good answers. "We save them if we can," she said finally. "And if we cannot, we give them peace. No one deserves what the Skarlix did to them." Diane spoke up, her voice rough with emotion. "Torres deserves better than this. Than all of this cloak and dagger garbage. We should be able to trust command. We should be able to rely on the system." "Should and is are two different things," Jay said. "System failed, so we fix it ourselves." "Damn right," Nina added. She was already working on the navigation logs, her fingers dancing across multiple interfaces simultaneously. Encryption is Skarlix military grade. Nasty stuff. But whoever locked us down assumed no one would try a quantum resonance bypass through the secondary data streams. She grinned. They assumed wrong. Lines of code scrolled across her screens, gradually resolving into coherent information. Star charts, waypoints, timestamps, and there, buried in the metadata, a set of coordinates that repeated in every log entry. "Got it," Nina announced. "Primary facility located in the Obsidian Reach. Deep space. No charted systems within 10 light years. Perfect place to hide something you do not want found." Maya memorized the coordinates. How long to reach it? 2 days at maximum burn. 3 if we want to approach quietly. We do not have 3 days. The longer we wait, the more damage the Skarlix can do. We go fast and we go hard. Hart provided them with the ship she promised. The vessel was an older Corvette class, not as heavily armed as a cruiser, but fast enough to outrun most threats. Its crew consisted of 15 hand-picked personnel, all veterans Hart trusted absolutely. Among them was Captain Riley Park, a woman whose record included more successful boarding actions than any other officer in the fleet. "Commander Cross," Riley greeted as Maya came aboard. "I understand we are about to commit several violations of military protocol." "Just several," Maya replied drily. "I was being conservative. Truth is, when Hart briefed me, I counted at least 14 separate court-martial offenses. I told her I was in before she finished the list." "Why?" Riley's expression hardened. "Because 16 years ago, my brother was part of a recon unit that went missing. Command never found him. Never even looked after the first week. Declared him dead and moved on. If there's a chance your platoon is still alive, still salvageable, then I will risk anything to give them what my brother never got. A way home." They shook hands, an understanding passing between them. This was personal for everyone involved. That made it dangerous, but also made it unstoppable. The Corvette, named Shadow's Edge, departed from the Relentless under the guise of routine patrol sweep. Only Hart knew their true destination. If they failed, she would disavow all knowledge. If they succeeded, she would face down the conspiracy and demand answers. 2 days in hyperspace gave Maya time to drill her team on the assault plan. They would approach the facility using minimal power, drifting in like debris. Once close enough, they would deploy in powered armor, breach the hull, and fight their way to wherever platoon was being held. Simple in concept, nightmarish in execution. Nina worked around the clock, analyzing every scrap of data about Skarlix technology and tactics. "They rely heavily on energy shields," she reported during one of their planning sessions. "But shields have vulnerabilities. Overload the frequency, and you can punch through. I am rigging EMP charges that should drop the defenses long enough for us to exploit." "How long is long enough?" Jace asked. 30 seconds, maybe 40 if we are lucky. Better than nothing. Leo had thrown himself into training with Riley's Marines, learning breach tactics and close-quarters combat. The kid was a fast learner, Maya had to admit. Fear had a way of sharpening focus. On the second day, they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Obsidian Reach. Sensors immediately picked up the target. A massive structure hung in the void, angular and wrong, like something that defied conventional physics. Skarlix design aesthetic favored sharp edges and asymmetry, and this facility embodied that philosophy to an extreme degree. Reading multiple power signatures, Nina reported from her station. Weapons platforms, shield generators, atmospheric containment fields. This is not just a research station. It is a fortress. Can we breach it? Maya asked Riley. The captain studied the tactical display. Armor is concentrated on the main approaches, but that docking array on the lower section, lighter defenses, probably meant for supply ships. We hit it fast, blow the doors, and storm through before they can mount a coordinated response. Do it. Shadow's Edge maneuvered into position, running dark to avoid detection. The crew held their breath as the corvette drifted closer, crossing the threshold into weapons range. Maya waited for alarms, for defensive fire, for any sign they had been spotted. Nothing. The Skarlix were confident in their isolation. That arrogance would cost them. Breaching range, Riley announced. All teams, prepare for deployment. Maya led her squad into the airlock, sealing their armor and running final weapons checks. The plan was to split into 3 groups. Her team would push for the research levels where the platoon was likely being held. Jace would secure the power core to prevent the facility from self-destructing. Riley would hold the docking bay and maintain their escape route. The airlock opened. Magnetic clamps latched onto the facility's hull. Shaped charges detonated, blowing a hole large enough for armored soldiers to pass through. Maya went in first, her rifle leading the way. The corridor beyond was dark, lit only by bioluminescent strips along the walls. Alien architecture surrounded her, all wrong angles and disturbing symmetry. She pushed forward, her team flowing behind her in practice formation. They encountered the first Skarlix guards 3 corridors in. The aliens reacted with shocking speed, their weapons coming up in fluid motions. Maya did not hesitate. She fired controlled bursts, targeting joints and exposed areas. The Skarlix fell, their armor failing under concentrated fire. But the sound of combat echoed through the facility, alerting others. Alarms began to wail, harsh and discordant. So much for quiet, Nina muttered over the comm. They fought their way deeper, encountering increasing resistance. The Skarlix were skilled fighters, but they had never faced humans who fought with desperation fueling every move. Maya's team carved through them like a blade through flesh, leaving a trail of alien bodies in their wake. They reached a sealed blast door marked with symbols Nina translated as biological research. This is it, the conversion lab. Blow it, Maya ordered. Ryan placed charges while the team set up defensive positions. The explosion tore through the door, revealing a chamber beyond that made Maya's stomach turn. Rows of containment pods filled the space, each one holding a human figure suspended in viscous fluid. Tubes and wires penetrated their bodies, feeding them nutrients while simultaneously rewriting their genetic code. Most of the figures had already transformed, their features becoming alien, their humanity stripped away. But some remained recognizable. Maya moved through the rows, checking faces, searching for anyone she knew. There, 3rd row, Pod 17. Private Marcus Chun, his face still human but his body already beginning to change. His eyes were closed, his expression peaceful, unaware of the horror being inflicted upon him. Can we extract them? Maya asked Nina. The tech specialist examined the pods, her hands moving over control panels covered in alien script. The process is not complete. If we disconnect them now, the transformation might reverse, or it might kill them. I cannot guarantee which. Then we disconnect them and hope, Maya decided. We did not come this far to leave them. They worked quickly, Nina overriding containment systems while the others provided security. One by one, the pods opened, spilling their occupants onto the floor in wet heaps. Some gasped and coughed, returning to consciousness. Others remained still, their fate uncertain. Marcus opened his eyes. For a moment, there was only confusion, then recognition, terror, shame. Commander? What did they do to me? Nothing permanent, Maya lied, pulling him to his feet. We are getting you out. Can you walk? He nodded, though his legs barely supported his weight. Diane and Marcus Young moved to assist him and the other recovering soldiers. We have 23 survivors, Nina reported. The others did not make it. The transformation went too far. 23 out of 32. Maya would mourn the 9 they lost. But right now, she needed to focus on saving the ones who remained. The facility shook as explosions rocked the structure. Jace's voice came over the comm. Power cores rigged. We have 5 minutes before this place goes up like a supernova. Get to the extraction point now." They ran, supporting the weakened survivors as they retraced their path through the corridors. Skarlix forces tried to block their retreat, but desperation made Maya's team unstoppable. They fought with a ferocity that sent the aliens reeling, clearing a path through sheer force of will. Riley had the docking bay secured, her Marines holding off waves of enemy reinforcements. Good timing. Shadow's Edge is prepped for immediate departure. Maya's team piled into the ship, the survivors barely conscious as medical teams rushed to stabilize them. She did a head count. Everyone accounted for. No one left behind. "Punch it," she ordered. Shadow's Edge detached from the facility, engines roaring to life. They barely cleared blast radius before the power core detonated, consuming the Skarlix fortress in a sphere of incandescent fury. The shockwave buffeted the Corvette, but Riley's piloting kept them steady. They had done it. Impossible odds, suicidal mission, and they had actually pulled it off. But Maya knew the fight was not over. They had the survivors. They had proof of what the Skarlix had done. Now they needed to expose conspiracy and make sure it never happened again. Commander Hart met them personally when Shadow's Edge docked with the Relentless. Her face showed relief mixed with grim determination. "You actually did it." "We got our people back," Maya confirmed. "Most of them. Medical says a conversion can be reversed with time and treatment. And the facility? Vaporized, along with all evidence except what we brought with us." Hart nodded slowly. "Then we moved to Phase 2. I have been gathering evidence while you were gone. Communications logs, financial records, shipping manifests. I know who authorized the black site research. I know who made deals with the Skarlix." She pulled up a holographic display showing a man in an Alliance Admiral's uniform. Not Garrett. Someone higher. Someone Maya recognized from recruitment videos and public addresses. Admiral James Kelso, Chief of Fleet Operations. Third highest ranking officer in the entire Earth Alliance military. "He sold us out," Hart said flatly. "Traded human lives for Skarlix technology. Thought he could control them, use their bioengineering capabilities to create super soldiers. Instead, he created monsters." Maya felt rage building in her chest. "What do? We present the evidence. The survivors, your mission logs, everything I've collected. We force Fleet Command to act. Kelso goes down, along with everyone who helped him. He will deny it, cover it up. Not with 23 living witnesses and a smoking crater where his secret facility used to be. Not with officers like you willing to testify. He is finished." The tribunal took 3 weeks to convene. During that time, Maya watched as the recovered soldiers slowly regained their humanity. The transformation reversed, though not completely. They would carry scars, physical and mental, for the rest of their lives. Marcuston spoke to her one day as he underwent physical therapy. "I remember everything they did, every moment of the change. I could feel myself disappearing, becoming something else. If you had been even a day later, I would have been gone completely. But you are still here," Maya reminded him. "You survived. You all did. Because you refused to give up on us. Command would have written us off, but you came anyway. That is what soldiers do. We never leave anyone behind." The tribunal found Admiral Kelso guilty on 14 counts of treason, conspiracy, and crimes against humanity. He was stripped of rank, dishonorably discharged, and sentenced to life imprisonment. 3 other officers were implicated and faced similar fates. Commander Hart received a commendation for her role in exposing conspiracy, though she refused any public recognition. "I was just doing my job," she said when Maya congratulated her. "Making sure our people are protected. That is what command is supposed to do." Maya was promoted to full commander and offered her choice of assignments. She chose to stay with Hart, helping to reform intelligence operations and prevent anything like Outpost Kestrel from ever happening again. The Skarlix sovereignty broke off all diplomatic relations after the tribunal, retreating behind their borders. Occasional skirmishes still occurred, but the full-scale war everyone feared never materialized. The aliens had learned a valuable lesson about humanity. Push them too far, and they would push back with interest. 6 months later, Maya stood in a memorial garden dedicated to the 9 soldiers who died during conversion experiments. Their names were carved into black stone, forever remembered. She placed a hand on the monument, feeling the weight of what they had endured. Footsteps approached. Jace joined her, his presence solid and reassuring. Thinking about what could have been, thinking about what we prevented. If we had not acted, if we had followed protocol and waited for official investigation, the Skarlix would have perfected their process. They could have infiltrated our entire military. But we did act. You made the hard call. A lot of people died because of that call. A lot more would have died without it. You saved lives. Maya, you saved the future. She wanted to believe that. Some days were easier than others. Nina appeared, carrying a datapad. Thought you should see this. New intelligence from the Outer Rim. Skarlix activity has dropped to almost nothing. Looks like we broke their operation completely. Or they're regrouping, Maya said, planning their next move. Then we will be ready, Jace replied. That is what we do. Maya looked at the memorial one last time, then turned away. The past would always carry weight, but the future demanded attention. Somewhere in the galaxy, threats were gathering, enemies were plotting, and when they came, humanity would be ready to meet them, because that was what soldiers did. They stood in the darkness, holding the line, making sure that home remained safe. They sacrificed, they fought, they bled, and they never, ever abandoned their own. Private Marcus Chun had returned to active duty, assigned to training new recruits. He carried his experience like armor, using what he had endured to prepare others for the realities of war. His first class graduated with honors, every one of them understanding that the enemy could be cunning, ruthless, and inhuman. But so could humanity. When pushed to the edge, when everything was on the line, humans proved time and again that they were the ones you did not want to cross. The Skarlix had learned that lesson in fire and blood. Other species would learn it too, eventually. Earth's soldiers were not the strongest or the fastest. They were not the most advanced or the most numerous, but they were stubborn. They were loyal. They were willing to sacrifice everything for the people beside them, and that made them the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. Maya returned to her quarters aboard the Relentless, now her permanent posting. She had a new team to train, new missions to plan, new threats to counter. The work never ended. But that was fine. She had found her purpose in the chaos, protecting those who could not protect themselves, standing against the darkness, making sure that no soldier ever felt abandoned or forgotten. That night, she slept without nightmares for the first time since Outpost Kestrel. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, she could rest knowing she had made a difference. Somewhere in the memorial garden, the names of the fallen caught the starlight, eternal and undiminished. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. Their memory would drive the living to be better, to fight harder, to never accept defeat. And in the cold void between stars, the universe learned a truth that would echo across centuries. You could make a human platoon vanish, but the price for that would be paid in full, with interest. The enemy had learned. Others would too. Humanity, against all odds, endured, and it would continue to endure, no matter what horrors waited in the darkness beyond. Because that was what humans did. They survived. They adapted. They conquered. And they never forgot. Subscribe and like to my channel for more HFY Sci-Fi stories.